Hello again, this is Chris on the Dorks Deduction. Just before you listen, I just want to apologise for the sound quality that happens midway through the actual podcast. We came into a bit of problems with the sound and there's a little bit of crackling, but hopefully it doesn't distract you too much and it does end. So thanks again for listening and enjoy. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Dorks Deduction. You'll be joined by me this week. I am Tarmin and Annie. Hello. And Christopher.
Hello there.
This week we are going to be discussing the disappearance of the Jamison family, who were last seen in October 2009. Their bodies were actually discovered in November 2013, but weren't actually identified as the family until last year, actually.
Wait, I didn't actually know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
You really should have researched then.
Welcome to the Dorks Deduction podcast, where we talk about stuff.
You're going to be the in the back. You're going to be like, right.
So when I said
this is a good thing.
I'm sorry, I just...
No, I'm talking to the audience. When I said Annie's going to be part of this podcast, she's going to be like basically you in this scenario. The voyeur.
Exactly.
The voyeur, exactly.
Yeah,
We're teaching Annie. It doesn't matter if anyone downloads it. We're teaching Annie.
Yeah, nice.
All right. So the Jamison family.
It's about 3 people that disappeared.
Yeah, it's about... You're really bad at research. Okay, the members of the Jamison family unfortunately were, Bobby Dale Jamison, who was the 44-year-old father, Sherilyn Jamison, the 40-year-old mother, and 6-year-old Madison Jamison. Yes. So...
And they're dead.
And they have now been confirmed to be dead July last year. I don't understand why it took so long. They had the remains for 7 months, 6 or 7 months.
Right, let's get to that in a bit.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit.
Now, it's not quite people die every day, and this is very tragic in itself anyway. But the reason it gained so much notoriety is because of the mysterious discrepancies about this case. It was just, no one knows exactly what happened. And the evidence that they do find is either vague or just wacky. So the only theories people can come up with are equally as vague and wacky. It's just, there's no given scenario in which someone can say for definite what's happened. And it's just so mysterious. The family itself was a bit mysterious as well. They're a bit of a loner society, weren't they?
Like, it was just, it was a small family, the mum, the dad, and the kid. That they weren't normal with the way they were in their community. They were quite eccentric, someone would say. A little bit spiritual. Yeah, so they went in the middle of nowhere trying to find somewhere to live.
Yeah, literally in the mountains of Oklahoma.
So the thing, like, the problem is that they went they took their car and they went somewhere in the middle of nowhere in a mountain to find a house or a land.
I think they'd already bought one by that point.
No, they hadn't.
So they were just scouting?
They hadn't. They were just looking at properties.
And they disappeared, basically.
They disappeared, but no one reported them missing because they were so reclusive. People would go months, years or days, months, weeks or days. Months, weeks or days? Days, weeks or months without speaking to them. So no one actually reported them disappeared.
So
no one actually reported them missing.
They actually found out because they found the car?
Yes, I think they were hunters. Do you know, Chris? Were they hunters that found them? Yeah.
There were some hunters on the dirt trail, and they had come across the car. There was a dog inside that was barking, and it was a dog that had been there for a couple of days, just cruelly left in the car.
It was more than a couple of days. It was about 8 days, so he was almost starved to death. The only reason he survived because he ate his own feces.
Yeah, Christ. For a situation like that to happen anyway, it makes me think they must have had to go quickly. They must have left the car really fast. The phones were still there.
It was locked.
It was locked. So they either left quickly and they locked the door themselves, or someone took them and took the effort to actually keep the door locked. I don't know. As you can see, it starts to build up. There's a lot of vague clues here, but nothing that gives an actual answer to anything. There was a bag of money under the seat that contained $32,000. Yeah, exactly. And what that says to me is that if it was any other people, they might have seen that and thought, yeah, I'll take that money, but they didn't. Then again, speaking of the parents themselves, they were a little bit, well, eccentric in their own way, weren't they? Especially the mother.
Should we discuss their eccentricities?
Yes, I think it's a good thing to get into, actually.
All right. Should we start with the mother or the father?
Start with the father. He's less... the mum's more of a climactic profile.
I think the father has his troubles. Okay, so Bobby Jamison, at the time of his disappearance, or the family's disappearance, he was in the middle of suing his father for $10,000. His father, who he also had a restraining order against, because apparently his father, Bobby Jamison Sr., threatened to kill his family twice in the 6 months leading up to the family's disappearance.
Oh, Christ, really?
Yes. But the police didn't actually take it seriously, because they thought that they were a bit... Well, the couple, the Jamison Jr. family, as in Bobby and Sherilyn, were a bit seedy and scammers, because they'd done that before. They'd sued people before.
Oh, right.
Crying out loud, they were suing their daughter's school at the time they were leaving as well, at the time they disappeared as well.
Yeah, I saw that they had taken her out of school for a couple of... They were
just
home
before.
tutoring her.
No, she hadn't started yet. It was literally just before they disappeared. She was pulled out of school.
So they wanted to make easy money, basically.
Easy money. So, yeah. But apparently Bobby Jamison had been doing things like that before. Yeah. Especially with his father. And his father wasn't exactly the most top-notch guy either.
So there was always some... there wasn't exactly black and white morality going on here. Everything was a bit grey.
Yeah.
Then the marriage apparently was on the rocks. I mean, they were having a bit of a strange relationship at that point as well. So that's probably why they actually decided to move out into the boondocks or something, to get away from society and life and reconnect, maybe. Yeah,
perhaps. But in the car, when they discovered the car, they found an 11-page letter from Sherilyn that was very, negative towards her husband. And you could tell that... I haven't read the letter. I don't think it's been released. If it has been released, please email it to us. I don't think it's been released, but apparently there was a lot of hostility within that letter.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't really think if you had that sort of behaviour with your husband, would you really just move out into the middle of nowhere with him alone, rather than have buffers in your life?
I can sort of see why they would do that, actually. I don't know. And I've had times when I've written stuff down that I didn't want to say to people, but I've written it down to visualise it and vent it, see if it makes sense.
Yeah, but okay, what I found weird is that she felt the need to take it with her when they were just visiting a property.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. That's what I don't get. Just like I don't get the 32,000, but yeah, we'll get into that later, I guess.
Well, this brings us to one of the more mysterious characters in our little drama. The mother, Sherilyn, was a little bit more outspoken about her beliefs, wasn't she? She was a bit of an eccentric, like we said before, very spiritual, even to the point of exaggerating her spirituality. I mean, she claimed that her daughter could see angels. She outright said to people she is a witch. Even Bobby Jamison said he once saw a couple of spirits on top of his house, and he went to a preacher asking if there was a special bullet he could buy to shoot them off.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I completely forgot about that.
This is a very spiritual family. I mean, this is, and as you know from certain experiences, that can mean a whole other world of people. People that have a completely different outlook on life, and it's something you can't quite understand unless you were within that community.
Yeah, but okay, this is my issue with it. It's because you know how people like to embellish things a lot. This is stuff that we're hearing from third, fourth, or fifth person. The only actual evidence of them being wackadoodle, witchcraft, mercenary, I don't even know the correct terminology, was the storage container in their house that was found that said, let me get the quote out.
Oh, I didn't get to that point of my research.
Never steal a witch's cat?
No, 3 cats killed to date by people in this area. Witches don't like their black cat killed. And the grammar was terrible in that little bit of graffiti. But I think that's the only evidence they have that links towards, witchcraft and things like that and wackadoodleness.
Yeah.
I think that's the only actual evidence that leads to that. I think there's more evidence of them being insane.
Yeah.
Because they were insane.
It doesn't even mean they are witches.
No.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong to actually being spiritual because, like, if you, like, there's people that genuinely, like, I don't know, like, sometimes where I stand on the matter of whether a kid does actually can see ghosts, and people just say, oh, it's an imaginary friend, but I actually think that maybe, you know what, if they can and we can't, but if they get to the point that someone asks, can I get a special bullet to kill the ghost, then that shows that they are a bit unstable.
There was an episode of a TV show called The Disappeared back in 2010, which focused on this case, the Jamison family. The episode was called Paradise Lost.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
Yeah, you saw it. And they had interviews from friends that actually knew them personally, rather than people that spoke to them on the street and stuff like that. Saying that they actually wanted to be perceived
as crazy.
Yeah, perceived as crazy, so people stay away from them, which would also make sense why they want to go live in a mountain. A mountain.
Yeah.
Live in a mountain.
Oh yes, the infamous mountain. What was it called? The Red Oak Mountain.
Yeah, Red Oak.
Not Red Oak Mountain.
It was in Red Oak, Oklahoma. And it was in the side of a mountain or something like that, or in a load of mountains. But I googled pictures of it, and it does seem really, really secluded, and it seems like a place where Blair Witch would happen.
Yeah, I was about to say,
like, who would want to live there? It's so creepy.
It's right next to a forest where it's very easy to get lost.
I think
apparently,
all is
with
forest.
rough terrain.
It is forest, all of it.
So that's the mum. That's the mum. That's
Can
the
we
two.
talk about the creepy kid? No, I'm joking.
Yeah, go on.
Actually, you know what? Yeah. I've completely forgot. I think it was her grandmother. I'm not quite sure if it was a paternal or maternal one. There was an interview where she was talking about how Madison was seeing people. So I'm not quite sure if that was an imaginary friend or a ghost or whatever. Or the gift, yeah. Maybe. Who knows? So that's the only information I have on her.
And what Annie said before, I mean, people have a right to be spiritual. Sometimes they are just wacko. And there's nothing like if people are seeing people on their roofs, that does make you think. Well, maybe I believe it was actual people on their roofs before I'd think there's a bullet that can kill them if they're spirits.
Yes.
But the fact that each one of these members of a family had their own little quirk leads me to believe. Well, were they all crazy? I mean,
well, Sherilyn was certifiable. Technically, Sherilyn was certifiable. She was bipolar, and she would go off her meds quite frequently. And I think Bobby Jamison, I'm not quite sure if he had any mental issues. I mean, he had issues, but I don't think they were mental issues.
Well, he injured his back in a trucking accident, and which led him unable to work for a while. This meant that he was less able to do things around the house, which probably caused him to become depressive. He couldn't do menial tasks, which probably put a big strain on the marriage itself anyway. So he had his own little demons to sort out with. But what leads me to feel that there's some foul play in this case, and it's got to be foul play, is one of the most creepy pieces of evidence that was discovered at the scene of the crime. Well, not quite at the scene of the crime, but near it. As you go up the mountain trail, there was another area where they found a phone, and on that phone there was a picture of little Madison.
I thought that was one of the parents' phones.
It might have been, but doesn't change the fact that it's a really creepy looking picture.
No, okay, I'm pretty sure. I read
that phone in the car.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they found a phone in the car, and it was a picture of Madison that the family didn't believe was taken with her consent, and she seemed distressed in the photo. She seemed distressed in the photo. So people, like their family members, and some people are saying that perhaps somebody had already done away with the parents and taken Madison and taken this picture of her. And then for some reason, why would they place it back in the car?
And lock the car.
But I think, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere, I'm not quite sure where, I'll need to look it up, that the photo was actually taken the day before they went missing, rather than after that they went missing, after the 8th.
From the thing that I watched, the documentary, it seemed like they went out, they walked around, they took that photo, they went back in the car, and then they were going to leave, and then something happened that made them people come out of the car, right?
Perhaps. Maybe Madison saw the anguish that her parents were going through. She was uncomfortable with it. She's 6 years old. Kids are intuitive. They can sense things.
Yeah.
Maybe she got upset and ran out of the car and they went out of her.
They were arguing, and she was just sitting there telling them to, like, showing that she didn't like it.
Yeah. Maybe.
Was there a gun?
Oh,
There was a gun.
Sherilyn,
Yes.
yeah. Do you want to go for it or shall I?
You go for it.
Sherilyn did own a gun and it went missing. It was missing at the time they went missing.
It was meant to be in the car at all times, and it wasn't in the car.
It was not in the car. But
Okay.
they've never found the gun. And guns, I'm pretty sure that they take a lot longer to decompose than a human remains.
Yeah. But you can make a gun disappear.
Yeah, you can get a 3D printer, make a plastic gun, melt it down. Do I scare you, Chris?
Let's not give too many people too many pieces of advice here.
Yeah.
We're not advocating any, effective killing methods. What a show. It's got everything in it.
We're saving that for episode 5.
Oh, of course.
Cool.
But, if it's still got to be foul play. And even if it wasn't the parents, there are a couple of other little suspects.
Why are you so certain it's foul play?
Who else could it be? They couldn't have been a suicide pact, could it? They had a lodger about a month before
they did.
this. And
Okay, that's where my research stops. So from now on,
From now on.
I
We're
don't
in
know
deep
what's
water.
happening.
that's absolutely fine.
Okay, yeah, go on, Chris. Press on with the lodger.
Obviously, with Bobby not being able to work like he did, they needed a lodger. Before I say anything else, he was able to allocate where he was at the time. So, again, we're just going into another line of theories. But
then again, people fake their alibis all the time.
true. And, the more certain they are about it.
You're going to be my alibi when I kill someone, Chris, right?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know that. But 1 month before everything happened, they had this lodger, and he would help out around the house and whatever they were working with Bobby. But there would be a couple of times where he would be left alone with Sherilyn in the house, and he would make her feel really uncomfortable. To one point in the day when he knew she was spiritual, and he told her, I'm a white supremacist, or what was it? I am a supremacist. Isn't that what you said?
I didn't get the quote. All I got was the reaction, and I love the reaction.
I'm a white supremacist, and I know you've been talking about some of your Indian blood or something like that. To the point where she got her gun out and said, "Get out." She forced him off the property, and it ended really badly. He didn't have to come back. He didn't come back. But we don't know. I mean, there was some real aggravation there, and it happened so near the date. And obviously, to jump to that conclusion is as ludicrous as it is logical. But you can't make an assumption because he had his alibi. That's the thing. Money was involved. That still doesn't have a lead. We don't know why there was money in there.
Well, I've read in a few different articles and things that the Jamison family, not just Bobby and Sherilyn, the older generation, just liked to keep a load of cash instead of putting it all in a bank account. Okay. They didn't like being part of society, hence the living in the mountains. But so that's another reason why they'd have cash. But my gripe with it is they were supposed to be short on funds, and he was in the middle of suing his father for $10,000, and there was $32,000 in the car. How much money would he have been shelling out in legal fees?
Maybe they just wanted more, and they had that money for their new life, and they just wanted more.
Yeah, maybe.
So if they could get more, why
maybe.
not?
Yeah, well, to be fair, yeah, they were in the middle of suing lots and lots of people.
Yeah. And this, like the lodger guy, it sounds like this could happen anywhere, really. If you had a lodger and he had some sort of more extreme beliefs and like an extremely racist person that said something really irresponsible or bad, and then you just picked up a gun and you threatened them. Not you particularly, Tamara.
I don't deal with guns. I don't deal with guns.
It just sounds like this guy was kind of like a racist and she wasn't, so he left. Like it seems like it could be. I mean, but to me, it could easily just be something that just happened and then he disappeared.
at the same time, we've only got Sherilyn to go on this by, and she is quite an exaggerator, as we led to believe as well. So.
Who knows if she was even on her medication at this point? She could have easily been seeing something or imagining things.
Yeah, that sounds like something that someone that's not on their medication is going to do.
Maybe that's why the police didn't pursue it.
There was no lodger. Ooh.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
The thing is, I couldn't find the name of this lodger. And I understand why police wouldn't release the names, because he was never charged.
Yeah,
but other people
safe.
Yeah, but people like family members and things, they would have known of the lodger. Why hasn't any information leaked at all?
For some reason,
the police have no way to stop them from like blabbing to the press or anything like that, and short of locking them up. And even then, they have freedom of speech.
Yeah, that's true. But even they can't say too much without knowing what's happened. Nothing can be said.
But maybe the people close to them don't put much stock in the idea of the lodger being.
They didn't really know at all what could have happened to them. They didn't say, "Oh, I think they had this person that didn't like them."
Well, you know who has
no
do you want to know who has a few opinions?
Who? You?
Sherilyn's mother.
Oh, okay.
Who? I love this woman.
She thought it was the dad.
No, she didn't. She thinks it was Satanists.
Oh, okay.
Huh. She debunks every theory that could show her daughter and Bobby in a very bad light. She debunks anything related to drugs. She debunks anything related to witchcraft. She debunks them being scammers. But yeah, she believes the white supremacists had their way with them.
Of course. It all makes sense.
It all makes sense.
The money.
Facts that it's like, okay, maybe you're just using your mother's eye that left her.
Yeah, we can't.
It's her memory, you know.
Yeah.
If anything, this is a nice bit of evidence that it shows how weird this family was, because the mother's stubborn. She doesn't believe in wrongdoings of her daughter or her husband in general. This could point to what the daughter was probably like, what her frame of mind was like. Maybe she was a bit staunch in her ways, you know. She could have just as well killed everyone herself, but you don't know. I just feel that if it wasn't someone else, like the father, or the lodger, because they had many enemies, it could have just as well been her.
But like the lodger thing, he wouldn't have been able to do that alone, because. Come on, after she pulled a gun on him, do you really think the family would be in any contact with him whatsoever? How would he have known where to find them? How would he have known that he was looking at they were looking at a property in that specific area? Because if someone had gone after them, they must have known them personally. They must have known their movements. Especially if this is a family that don't really invite other people into their lives.
Unless it was a serial killer in the middle of nowhere that was just waiting for some people to be walking around in the middle of nowhere.
Fair enough, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
That's the zebra in this.
So after all this, they have a family that's gone for, 4 years, and they don't know where they are?
4 years.
Let's just say they haven't found them yet. And all they have is whatever they found in the car, and the dog, and the money, and the gun was missing. So 4 years have gone by, no one knows what's going on. And they actually find some remains, and a year after they say that, this is the whole family. Do we know anything about the remains?
Well, I don't think they found all of the remains, as in, come on, they were sitting out there. The police have said that they believe that they were killed within hours, or they died within hours of going missing.
Okay.
So the bodies would have been out there.
Any holes?
That's the thing. The bodies would have been out there for 4 years. So animals have made off with it. It has gone through severe decomposition. So they can't really do an autopsy. It took them 7 months to actually confirm that the bodies were theirs. When it would have just been a simple DNA. It would have been a simple DNA analysis usually. But I think it was basically just bones and not even all of them.
So did they find that in the vicinity of, was it near the mountain? Was it near the car? Where was it?
It was less than 3 miles away from the car, which is what I found astounding. Exactly. They say, I don't know how they determined that they died within hours of going missing, but they died within hours of going missing. Let's say they did. And they would have died there. Then.
Yeah.
So how the hell, after them searching for God knows how long, did they not find the remains? Were they buried at the time? But even if they were buried, you could tell they would have had rangers there that could see if there were disturbances in the sand,
Exactly.
in the soil, or any broken trees or branches where people that would have stepped on them or trampled all over them. They would have people tracking them.
It says something, though, that the bodies had years to decompose and no one actually found them when they were there.
Yeah.
Like, before they started decomposing. If someone even dumped them there after the investigations...
Yeah. Which is
like,
what
it
would
must
be the reason for that.
such a, like, secluded area for no one to see them for years.
Yeah.
But that's the weird thing. I mean, surely it would be easier to spot a decomposing, rotting body in a field rather than a couple of bones.
Or, like, 3 of them.
Yeah, exactly. You could smell a decomposing body.
Especially after the media attention died down in the late 2013. And then someone just happens to find them with ease.
And if there was a car there must have been a road as well.
Right, there was a dirt path.
Some people must have walked through there and they bumped into someone as well, didn't they? Like, people were around.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little community up in the mountains.
Yeah, exactly.
Local people.
Apparently,
Exactly.
these are, loner people. Some of them don't have TVs. A lot of them don't even have septic tanks.
Hey,
It's
maybe
a real.
it was a satanic cult. They were all in on it. Who knows?
It wouldn't surprise me to see that close-knit community has a mentality of its own.
The thing is, there are satanic communities in Oklahoma. I've looked it up. There are satanic communities in Oklahoma. There was a Black Mass, I think it was a year or 2 ago, which I didn't know what that was, and I wish I don't.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What is it?
I
don't know.
It's just weird. Okay,
Sacrifices of virgins.
No, but they can't because they wouldn't be able to get... Well, they probably do it on the down low. But it was, like, massively publicised.
We have, like, there's a little hill near my hometown in the foreign country where I'm from. And you always hear these horror stories of, like, what the Satanists do up there and all the virgins and the puppies that they kill. It's so weird.
Okay, we need to do a podcast based on that.
Yes, please. Maybe we're using the word Satanist wrong as well, because we haven't researched what that religion or whatever it is called actually means.
Doesn't that just mean you worship Satan?
I think it means that you just care about yourself and no one else. Like, I think it's quite.
Then how do they have Satanist communities?
I heard that basically for Satanists, the most important day of the year is their birthday.
So aren't we all Satanists?
Maybe. We'll find out when we do that podcast.
Who plans their birthday 6 months in advance? You're a flippin' Satanist.
You are a flippin' Satanist.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back. Sorry, I sidetracked us.
Yeah,
Satanist, just a little bit horny.
It's about the Satanists in that mountain, that it could have been just this whole community.
It could have been. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe
What if they all
Sherilyn's
covered
mother
for
isn't.
each other, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It happens.
And they get these 3 people that come from the city, basically, what would have been to them at the city.
Yeah, they were
came from
invading
the
their
town.
space, yeah.
And they were like, okay, did you hear what she said about spirits? Like, what if she was actually open about it?
Yeah.
And they just sort of targeted them.
Yeah, it could happen.
Still wouldn't explain the money, though. Because if it was someone else doing it, they would have taken it, right? I mean, if you're a Satanist and you're all about rewarding yourself, surely a couple of $1,000 is rewarding yourself, isn't it?
Well, unless they didn't venture down to the car. Yeah, so maybe they just wandered into the place they were inhibiting and met some of the Satanists, and yeah, they offed them. And yeah.
Awesome.
I wonder, like, why was the gun missing but not the money? That's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is weird. What if but guns have serial numbers. At some point, it would have shown up if it had gone missing. And yeah,
I don't know. You know, like with all these things, sometimes people, the investigators, just don't investigate properly. Not like it always happens in films. So, for all we know, the gun is in one of those people's houses, well, their caves or whatever it is.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's the gun theory thing. That's the gun talk over. Yeah, the gun went missing. I don't really have an opinion on the gun. I haven't really thought too much into it.
I think if you put a gun in the hands of someone who's heavily dosed on meds anyway, something like this isn't too far down the road anyway. in fact, it was Sherilyn's gun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was It was registered to her.
They don't know. What if after the thing she did with the guy, that she actually put the gun on his head, right?
Yeah, she put it to the back of his head, yeah.
Well, what?
What if after she put the gun to the back of the head of the loader, they just put it somewhere else? Their family wouldn't know if for some reason they said, okay, this just happened and you almost killed someone, probably, so maybe we should put this somewhere else.
Yeah, but where would they have put it? They searched...
Put it in the bin. Who knows? They're crazy.
Maybe. Yeah. But the thing is, well, after that happened, if she had to pull out a gun on someone, wouldn't you want the gun around with you all the time?
Okay.
If someone walks into your home, lives with you, you have to pull a gun on them to make them leave because you fear them. Wouldn't you want to have a gun around you all the time?
Yeah.
So yeah, going missing. Maybe I was wrong. I should have put more thought into it. That I don't really have any ideas about what happened to it.
Okay, she took it with her because she always had to have it on her because that made her feel safe and sane, and as much as could be. And then whatever happened to them, and they just took the gun. Yeah. They didn't go back to the car. No one, after whatever happened to them happened, no one went back to the car.
Okay, I like this. We've kind of, in a nutshell, explained the gun. We've explained the money, in our own little theories, and they do kind of make sense.
Okay, I wasn't done with the gun.
Oh, cool.
Go on.
Okay. Well, the reason it was never found is it could be pretty simple. Sherilyn had it with her at the time, and that area was known for flash flooding, so it could have easily been swept away.
Yeah.
The bodies remained, but the gun was swept away.
And it's just laying somewhere in the bed of a river.
Yeah.
They didn't find flames the other day when they fell, so how are they going to find a gun?
Yeah, that's true.
Necessarily.
Besides, if someone up there finds a gun, are they going to hand it in anyway? It could have been found and just kept.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
you find a
easily.
gun.
You can actually scrape off the serial numbers of guns.
Exactly.
So the thing's unaccountable for at this point anyway.
Yeah.
Unless it's actually found, you can just write it off.
I think it's terrible that they left the car with the dog in it and didn't crack a window.
Okay. All right.
I'm just saying it. I'm just putting that here.
By the way, listeners, Annie is a really, really big dog lover.
Oh, we
I
all
like
love
dogs
animals.
better than people, okay?
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
Thank you for that.
And that's it. That's my input in the story.
Okay. What else do you have to say about this?
I've changed my opinion on the whole thing.
Oh, are we going to go into our own theories about what happened now?
Well,
I want to hear what Chris has to say.
I'll tell you what I think. I do actually believe that maybe, they did want to come back to the car. The gun, you guys told me what you thought about the guns, and it makes sense. She carried it everywhere. So it doesn't necessarily mean she was going to use it on them. The money is just there because that's what those kind of people did. They don't trust the banks. They locked the car door. They obviously didn't want anyone getting into it. It makes a lot of sense, Okay. And if there is any, whatever happened to them, it's rough terrain and they can get lost maybe, but wouldn't explain why their bodies are all together in one place. So whatever happened to them might have not actually been the family. It might have been one of their haters. They had a lot of enemies.
Yeah, and what if that money was because they left, right? They weren't really intending to come back for too long. They were intending to leave that place forever. What if the money in the car was everything they had, like everything they had scraped up, and they were actually not planning to go back ever again? Like they were just planning to sort it out then, like find somewhere to live and not go back.
It could easily be seen as a deposit on a place. Are you paying cash?
Yeah, what if someone
if someone's more willing to pay in cash, to you, wouldn't you say yes?
Yeah, so they want to find the house and actually be able to put some grand down and make sure that they keep it.
Okay. No. So, but yeah, all right. I sort of agree with yours. I have more detail in my theory, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My theory is, well, we already know that the Jamisons' marriage was tough. We've heard about the letter. So I'm going to go back to the point I was saying before about how, they weren't exactly in the best place in life and they were probably arguing during this journey. It was to look for a place so they could get away from people and life. And I do really think Madison She was a witness to this, and it would make any 6-year-old uncomfortable. It would make anyone uncomfortable having their parents just argue while you're sitting in the back of a car with your dog. So I do think once they pulled up somewhere or when they slowed down, she could have easily just walked out of the car. She would have opened the door. I haven't heard about if there's any child locks on there. I don't think there will be any information if there is. But I think she would have easily left, which would make sense why the parents would leave, follow the 6-year-old girl, try and find her, track her down. And, yeah, maybe they did find her, one of them got injured, or they got lost, and they died of exposure.
Together.
My only issue is... Well, actually, no, I'll go back to it. They locked the car before they left, with the dog in it, so clearly they didn't think they were going to be away too long.
Yeah, exactly.
My only issue is they never found the car keys.
They didn't find the gun either, though.
No, fair enough. But the gun, we're not certain. Well, we think that she may have had it with them. We're not certain they had it with them. Whereas the car keys, it's definitely going to be there. It would be on the person.
Did they find their clothes on skeletons? I mean,
yeah, that's a fair... Actually, no, scavengers, maybe it's not a hole in my theory. Yeah, a dog or a wolf or something could have easily just eaten it and carried it away.
I think you have a point when you say that they were planning to just be gone for a second, because they wouldn't just lock the dog in the car.
Yeah, because clearly,
if they're go anywhere without the dog either, apparently.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have left the dog at all, because it was part of their family. They were leaving. Yeah. They were leaving. They were going to find a place to put down roots somewhere. They were taking the dog along with them. The
only thing I have to say is that I have a feeling that after a specific date in time, more or less every car comes with a sort of child-safe lock. So I don't know if...
Do they all?
Yeah, more or less. Like, after some time, all the cars would come out like that.
What car... Chris, do you know what car they had?
It looks like quite a contemporary car, but that's a minor thing.
It was a bit of a truck, wasn't it?
Was it a truck?
Like a big...
We don't know how old it was.
4x4...
So we know how old it was.
Yeah, but more or less, like, they always have child-safe doors. Like,
it was a truck, yeah.
The car that my dad has that's from 92 doesn't, but I have a feeling that, like... late 90s
I'm pretty sure my dad's car doesn't have child locks. Or actually, maybe you have to set it up or something.
Maybe
because he would have no reason for it. Yeah, because he wouldn't have a reason for it. We're not children. Well,
and they would need one with child locks, obviously, because they're not a kid.
Unless they don't really care too much.
I wonder.
Or unless, come on, they were distracted. They were having a tough time in their marriage. Maybe they weren't paying attention. Maybe they didn't lock the door.
Maybe they were the ones that walked out and just slammed the doors and started arguing, and the kid came out and followed them. And
but would the kid lock the door behind her, though? I don't think a 6-year-old, even if it was an intelligent one, would actually lock the car behind her.
No.
Maybe they simply got out to have a walk, have a break, comfort the child, take a picture of her, and just go for a walk just to calm down, maybe. It must have been heated. It must have been a heated moment. I mean, she took the letters with her about how discussing what she thinks of him.
Wait, did she take the letters with her?
Yeah, it was found in the car.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I thought you meant they were walking out of the car about to die and she took the letters with her.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, so in a way, it would be nice to think that whatever happens, even though we're not going to know the truth, maybe it's nice to think that in their last moments they tried to have a bit of peace.
And they were together.
Yeah.
They were together. Their bodies were found aligned.
They were very spiritual, so their spirits are probably all together anyway.
Yeah. I think someone must have found their bodies at some point. I don't think they died together. I think they were I think they were placed together.
Do you think they were placed?
I think they were placed together. I think some kind soul found their bodies. And they assumed, because they must have found it in that area, they must have assumed, they were the family and put them together.
Yeah.
Do you think the clothes would have perished as well?
I think, if animals had gone at their flesh and stuff, the clothes,
perish,
clothes do degrade anyway. They do, don't they?
They do, not like
not
to
to
they disappear.
No, not that they turn into rags.
If a wolf or a bear finds it, it's gonna just go like this and
because it's covering up meat. It's covering up meat.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just gonna rip it open.
Clothes, I think, if they found bits of bodies and this is the teeth that would match a 6-year-old girl. This is a female skull or whatever happened. Like obviously, there's not much of any clothes left.
I don't know, I let my mind wander for a bit, and I was kind of hoping, like, the dad was found as a skeleton in a Hawaiian t-shirt or something like that. Anyway, yeah, but it's totally changed my opinion on the whole subject altogether. And
What was your original opinion?
Well, I did suspect foul play, but I really did believe that a lot of it could have come from the mother.
I thought it was murder-suicide before I started reading into it.
So what do we think now?
We think, well, it was natural causes, I think.
I'm still
Sort
not
of.
too clear on how they died, but I do feel that there was no motive from within the family.
Okay, so we don't think it was like they went out and killed each other.
No.
They had their enemies, so the circumstances do look a bit dire. But maybe
Yeah.
what you said is it was rough terrain. There were flash floods. You know, you can't be too sure, can you?
Yeah, but I hate the fact that they were only about, less than 3 miles away from the car and they still weren't found for years.
Yeah.
Well, what if it was, though, the locals, and if the 5 people that lived there in their little huts in the middle of nowhere wanted them to not be found, they wouldn't be found.
So basically we're saying, we agree with this, but we also think...
I don't know, like, I see your opinions, but I feel like...
You really want
so
it to be
far,
something seedy,
the
don't you?
tiny bit of research that I did and the discussion that I heard, I have a different opinion based on no research. But I feel like, what if it was those people? Like, what if it was
These
just
people that we don't actually know about, that we've just guessed are around.
those poor people that live in the middle of nowhere because they hated society, we're just blaming them of being like terrible people that kill people.
Outsiders, don't move into our area.
Yeah, we
This
don't
is what you
like
get.
those people. We don't
Benders,
understand.
that's what they're called, aren't they? Benders.
Bringing your TV.
Benders.
Yeah, well, am I thinking
They
of
don't
something
like social life. They must be weird and
Build a
terrible.
septic tank round here, will you?
else? Okay, so I've gone through what I first thought and what I think now. Can I go through the theory that I actually want it to be?
Okay, you can say your theory.
Yeah.
And then Chris can say whatever he wants.
No, I don't think it is. I don't think this is true, but it would be so great if it was.
Okay, yeah, I'm just
Go
saying we should sort of slowly wrap it up.
Yeah, we'll slowly wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the theory that isn't true. I'm certain it isn't true, but I wish it was. They're in witness protection. I've read a few things about them being in witness
That's a
protection.
spicy
I like
twist.
that. That makes me feel so much better.
Yeah, I know. Web sleuths have come up with it. That means that they're alive
Yeah.
somewhere.
Oh,
Is
In
Web
witness-
Sleuth like a good source, or is it not that a good source?
Web sleuth is like basically people like us
Yeah,
that
like
don't
Reddit,
actually know
like
anything.
Reddit,
Yeah,
basically,
Reddit and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, that would actually tie everything in together. There's
It
no
would.
gun. There's no. They didn't find the bodies for years.
What did
And
they
then-
see though? Like,
And the money would be explained, and then the links to drugs would be explained. Maybe they were involved in the drug industry.
Okay.
And my only issue with that is if they were in witness protection, of course it's government. They're helped by the government. How the hell could the government have let this investigation go on the way it has?
why not? Then they throw us off.
No, but the thing is, that means people are still constantly talking about the family.
Yeah, but they're throwing us off.
Yeah,
Like,
but if you're in witness protection, don't you sort of want to be forgotten about? You don't want your face
they're not who
plastered.
they were before.
Yeah, I know, unless they've had plastic surgery. But do you
yeah,
think
yeah.
they want their face plastered all over the media? Because do you think they want their
Unless
daughters?
they had,
Unless they've had plastic surgery. And I don't think.
I like this theory because it makes me feel better.
Yeah, I like this theory because that means they're alive and a 6-year-old girl is not dead.
Yeah.
Even if they did move to just one state over, this whole story, it lost wind within a couple of months anyway.
Yeah, but
And
it picked up again now
It
since
picked
the
up
body
again.
was found.
I didn't know about this
When the
until we
bodies
had
were
to do
found,
this
yeah.
podcast. Like, what if they live in the middle of nowhere in a place where they don't speak English?
Okay, you know what? A lot of people are like me, alright? And they look up weird deaths.
What if
and
they took them to the middle of nowhere, like in the Sandwich Islands?
Don't most places have internet?
No, they don't in the Sandwich Islands.
What's the Sandwich Islands?
don't
We're
know
going to do a
Sandwich
podcast on the Sandwich Islands.
Sandwich Islands.
Sandwich, like you say, like the sandwich.
As in,
like,
to eat, sandwich.
Yeah.
Sandwich. Cool.
Yeah, like a sandwich. Yeah, like a
Sandwich Islands.
Yeah.
Islands.
All right. So, do you have any closing remarks, Chris?
Again, I really like that idea of witness protection. That does make things it wraps things up so nicely.
What would be your hopeless positivism theory that they're alive, or that at least something? What would make you happy if you knew that it happened to them?
that they're like Bonnie and Clyde, just with a daughter. They've gone around the country. They've pulled off the ultimate scam, as it were.
Bonnie and Clyde went around killing people, did they not?
Well, the nice
they
Bonnie.
did robberies and stuff, but they were scammers, so they actually scammed themselves out of, like, just disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Did any of them? We weren't know if any of them had life insurance, but.
Wouldn't they be each other's, like, beneficiaries anyway?
Yeah, exactly. But if they're dead, you don't know. The only thing that would, I wouldn't be able to believe is that they would need the FBI to do this, because if their bodies were found and forensic teams found out they were.
We're completely ignoring the fact that they found bodies and they matched them to the people, and that it's actually proven that they're dead right now.
It could still be a cover-up.
If the FBI have control over it,
people fake DNA tests all the time.
Did we see their remains? What if they just came out and said, "Oh, guys, we found their remains and they're dead, so forget about them now"?
Yeah, we don't even know what...
Forget about them, because it's becoming really hard to make people think that they don't exist, because people are seeing them in the Sandwich Islands right now, and they're wondering because they found out about this story.
Yeah.
We should do a podcast from Sandwich Islands. Send us money, people.
From the Sandwich Islands.
From the Sandwich Islands.
I understand they have a lot of servers there, because the internet laws are a lot more loose.
Really?
No.
I don't think so.
When you say loose, what the hell do you mean?
They have no internet.
Oh.
I mean nothing. Okay,
So
I think we can wrap this up. I think this is long enough for the first episode.
I like to think that, I don't know what you guys think, but I've had a revelation out of this,
What's your revelation?
Well, not a revelation of sorts, but you guys have changed my opinion on this whole story. And
again?
No, not again.
Oh, okay. This is stuff we've already spoken about. Okay,
yeah, but
cool.
I've learned some stuff I didn't know before. And
I really enjoyed this talk. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting discussion.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting it to drag for 54 minutes. That's really good. We actually spoke about stuff. We didn't...
Yeah.
That's good.
Hopefully anyone out there listening had a nice little... had a nice story told to them while they were cleaning up the room or something.
Or on a long bus journey.
On a long bus journey. Ooh, we're on iTunes, aren't we? Ooh.
Yeah.
But
No, I like that. Yeah, it was good. And if anyone has any extra thoughts or any comments, just, feel free to post them.
Mm-hmm. And if we do get that one guy who says, actually, it wasn't a truck, it was a Ford Fiesta, you guys are shit, or something like that.
You know what? If you want to tell us we're shit, email us at thedorksdeduction@gmail.com.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Is it .com or .co.uk?
I'm not sure. We'll
Okay,
have
we'll
it
do
in the
two.
description.
We'll do two of them.
No. We'll have it. All the information on how to get in touch with us and tell us how gay we are and how this sucks is in the description. Email.
We do Twitter as well, sort of. We have the account.
Let us know how this looks, and we will appreciate any feedback at all.
Just
Yeah.
bear in mind, the more gay you tell us we are, the more I'm going to love it. So.
Oh, yeah, baby.
And also, if you'd like to request that we do a podcast in different accents, then let us know.
I thought you were going to say, if you'd like to request that we do a podcast on a specific topic.
That too.
No, you went for the accent. You didn't go for the topic.
That too. If you want to request, topics that you think we might be interested in or you want us to talk about, we'll do it, even if we don't know anything about it. I'm sure we'd do something.
The thing with the accents still counts, though. I like that idea.
Yeah, so...
Give me a weird accent.
Give me a weird accent. What accent can I do? Well, you know what? You suggest it, and I'll try it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So...
Is this it, then?
I think that's it. That's our first episode over.
Amazing.
So thank you, everyone, for listening, and...
God bless you for getting through it.
Nice.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Or
hopefully.
At some point.
Or when we can be...
Whenever the podcast goes up.
Yeah, whenever the podcast goes up. That's it. We shouldn't give specific time.
Right. Well, just
follow us on Twitter and we'll keep you updated, or Facebook, or wherever we're going to be doing social media.
Should we all say bye in unison?
Should we do it in accents?
In unison?
In unison in accents.
In voices. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Bye!
we talk about stuff.